Hello, 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 everyone. Good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so excited that today is the 1st of October. And you know what October is, right? You know what the month of October is? Or should I remind you? You know, October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. And I'm so excited because in the month of October, we raise awareness for a lot of people to know about our kiddos, our adults who have dyslexia, and to really have a conversation that everyone love and learn something new. And so all organizations around the world who are doing something related to dyslexia, this month is a very busy month for us. And we at Africa Dyslexia Organization, we are busy as well. And so today we are having our first Dyslexia Global Conversation as part of the Dyslexia Awareness Month. And I have the privilege of having a Ghanaian who lives in the US who is coming to talk to us about dyslexia, dyspraxia. And so I'm very excited for you to meet this person. From our last conversation, you met with Aaron Dante, and it was amazing. But trust me, you're going to have this conversation is also equally going to be amazing and amazing and amazing. As Africa Dyslexia Organization, we have a lot of things lined up for the rest of the year and also Dyslexia Awareness Month. One of the things we are going to be doing is opening the application for the Dyslexia Advocate Fellowship Program. Guess what? We're looking for 2 people in each African country to be in this fellowship. That will be 108 people that we're looking for. And they will be doing 6 weeks training. After their graduation, they are going to be dyslexia advocates in their various countries. Isn't that exciting? This is also the month that we are launching our first ever research on dyslexia in Ghana. Once we finish with this research, we will pilot the same research to the rest of the African uh, continent. And so we are very excited, so many lined up of activity. And as we go on through this conversation, I will be sharing more of what we're going to be doing with you. But let me introduce you to my guest for today, and her name is Ama Asamoah. For those watching from Ghana, you definitely know that's a very Ghanaian name, Ama Asamoah. And Ama is dyslexic and someone who has experience with dyspraxia as well. I wouldn't want to tell you more about her profile because I want her to use it as a conversation to tell you, but she is a catalyst of change, someone who believes in inclusivity and diversity, someone who really have a good heart to bring change, to bring positivity. And so that's the kind of conversation we're going to hear today. And I would like to bring Ama, who is the co-founder of PATTRON, to the stage, and she's going to tell us more about her.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi, Rosalind. Happy Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I am so excited.
I'm
I
excited
am.
to be here with you. Thank you. You got me on a Sunday to sit down with you. I was like, it takes a lot to get me on a Sunday. So I'm happy to be here.
That's the dyslexia magic, you know? And so I'm so happy for you to accept to be here, spend your Sunday with us. And this conversation is going to be like, a really cool casual. I wish if I'm with you, we probably will be doing it either over tea or coffee or
Absolutely.
something.
Oh, it'll be over tea. It will be
Over tea. So it's really a casual conversation, and our audience are really waiting to hear from you. And so, Ama, I intentionally didn't read out all your bio,
okay.
and I wanted you to share with our audience who Ama is. Then we can proceed. Thank you.
Okay, who Ama is. Ooh, okay, this is the long part. Okay, as you mentioned, I am the co-founder and COO at PATTRON. PATTRON is an IT service company. We work on the infrastructure side of tech. So I always tell people everything that exists on the back end that allows tech to exist, that's what our company works on. So, if you guys know anything about infrastructure, that's kind of like your data center, how to like we actually on the back end run the wires and the cables so people can get online. So, our team is built of network engineers. That's who we hire. And then, so that's my 9 to 5. I say Patron is my 9 to 5. And then I have my other business, Shifting Perspective, which I started and founded. Shift in perspective started out more so for me to connect with businesses one on one. And the constant information and advice that people kept coming to me with, I decided that I was going to set up a catalyst in order to actually help owners get to the place of where they wanted to go. When we're talking about entrepreneurship, it is such a long road. There's so many quirks along the way that people don't know how to manage. And if you don't come from a background where your mom or your dad owned a business or your grandma owned a business, it's very you don't know what you don't know. And shifting perspective was there to fill that gap of helping people understand what I'm filling the gap so people could understand the things that they needed to know along the way so they could build and scale successfully. And then my third business we have is called Wastework. Wastework is my hula hooping business. So I'm also an international hula hooper. I partner with festivals around the world. I have brand deals to hula hoop. And those are more so the three pockets that I exist in. So Wastework was created just more so out of a place of creativity and joy. Um, when I say hula hooping, yes, the thing that goes around your waist. That is exactly it. So yes, hula hooping was actually birthed out of the pandemic in 2020. I realized it was a space that I just thoroughly enjoyed. I loved hula hooping. I've always hula hooped. I never thought too much of it. But from that experience and from being able to be outside and hula hoop, and I met so many people along the way during the lockdown and the pandemic, especially here in the States. When we were locked down, I would go out on Sundays and hula hoop, and I just happened to meet people along the way. And through that, Wastework was born with my business partner. So we facilitate hula hooping workshops for adults. It's specifically for adults, and we call it adult play. Finding space for that creativity and joy to exist in our lives. That is the most important thing. So those are the three buckets of what I do. And for the past year and a half, I was a digital nomad. I'm slowly transitioning back to Washington, D.C., where my company is based. But I traveled and met people all over the world. I hula hoop with people. I've met with different entrepreneurs, and it's just been an amazing journey. Rose,
Wow.
and you, yes.
Wow, 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 wow. Like, I'm listening to all that you're saying, doing this, doing that. I'm like, that's really typical dyslexic person
Yep.
doing all, never getting tired and all that.
Mhm.
And so I, I I'm not surprised because anyone who have been on this platform as a dyslexic mentioning like 3 to 5 things they're doing. And I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa, that's one of the good traits I see from we who are dyslexic. So now we're gonna go into the conversation
Okay.
of you being dyslexic
Mhm.
and also dyspraxic. I don't know if that's how you say it.
Dyspraxia. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
dyslexia.
dyspraxia and dyspraxic. Yeah.
Mhm.
Can you please walk us through your early experience with dyslexia and dyspraxia, and how did you first realize you had these conditions?
Okay, I'll start off by saying I was diagnosed with dyslexia as an adult, which I'm sure we're going to get to later. But from like my earliest memory, I remember dyspraxia showing up. There was no verbiage for it at the time. Um, I have a pen here. So let me start by explaining what dyspraxia is. I know you've done a great job educating the audience on what dyslexia is. Dyspraxia, it affects your motor skills and your coordination. I am well coordinated and I have great motor skills. But most people hold their pen like this. I don't know. Can you see my pen? Yeah. Most people hold their pen like this, and you write. I hold my pen like this, and I write like this. And I remember my earliest memory is being in third grade, and they used to give me the little cushion to put on my pencil. I think the little pencil grip is what I'm talking about. They used to give me that to put on my pencil so I can hold it like this, and I hated it. But I remember they would take me out of class at some portion, and I worked with a one-on-one tutor at the time. Dyspraxia was the first thing that was recognized because it was visible. And that's the thing they focused on the most. They focused very much more so on how I held a pen very early on versus my penmanship. Even though I hold my pen like this, I have impeccable handwriting. How I hold a pen and a pencil has never affected how I wrote, but it's just when you go to school, everything is supposed to be standardized. So they really focus hard on making sure I can hold the pen like everyone else. And in my mind, I hated it so much because I wrote well. It's just I held the pen differently, so I didn't think too much of it. But so that's third grade. And when we talk about my educational journey, I didn't know I was dyslexic. I knew I learned differently as a child. I knew I was intelligent, but I knew there was some disconnect with my education, and I couldn't really pinpoint it, couldn't really put my hand on it, but I liked learning. Learning was a space for me. I did well in school, but I just knew there was a disconnect, especially when it came to writing and when it came to reading. But I didn't have the verbiage um, to pinpoint what was the thing that was actually off. And that's essentially how my educational journey started until I got to grad school, which I'm sure we can talk about later.
Wow. Wow. So, so you finding out to have these challenges as an adult in grad school, right?
Mhm.
So, what, like, what's happened?
What happened? Okay, let me tell you the story. So I'm in graduate school at this point. So I've gone through all my formal education. I have my undergrad. I'm in grad school. I went to grad school in London. London has one of the best educational systems. I just want to say that. But I went to grad school in London, and I remember it was my head professor. Her name was Bethany. It was my head professor, and we just submitted a paper. I do not remember what was on. Let's just say it was on international branding. So she brings me into her office and she's asked me about the subject matter, and just we're just kind of talking. She's asked me about my ideas, the gaps that I exist, my solutions, and I'm telling her essentially everything that I wrote. I'm telling her I'm going through the information with her, and she looks at me and she says, "Alma, you have a phenomenal understanding of the material. You have great solutions that you want to apply to the industry. However, it doesn't translate on paper. I think you might be dyslexic." And for 24 years, that was the first time that I ever heard those words. And I left her office, and I'm going to be honest with you, Rosalind, I left her office feeling very offended. I felt very offended, like, dyslexia? How dare you? Like, like, what do you mean I have dyslexia? I'm smart. It was pride, and then there was the underline of shame. And I remember going back to my apartment, and I sat down and I thought, would I let my pride keep me from getting the answers that this lady is trying to present me? Will I let that stop me from progressing? And I probably took a day because now she gave the information. I had to contact another department to kind of set up an appointment. And I sat on it for a couple of days, and I decided that no, I wasn't going to let pride stop me from getting the answers. No, I wasn't going to let shame, keep me from exploring this. And if I'm dyslexic, my whole life will make so much more sense. So I went through the formal assessment. So the first stage is you get an assessment, and then you actually do actual testing with a professional. And it comes back that I am dyslexic and I have dyspraxia. Dyspraxia made sense. It just gave verbiage to it because I've always held the pen differently from other people. So I'm like, okay, that's what it was. Dyslexia, in that moment, my whole world made sense. And because the thing that I've always struggled with in education, I finally had context for it. The reason why English wasn't my favorite subject, the reason why I did not like to write papers, all made sense. It's not that I wasn't good at it. It's actually that it just wasn't my strongest skill set. Um, so going through that journey, the biggest thing for me when I say London has one of the best educational systems because they have a lot of tools and resources for people to learn in all different ways and manners. So my assessment for me was you're dyslexic and these are the tools that we're going to give you to help you. And that is what changed my life.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. And this then brings us into the next question that I want to ask you. We are not there yet, but I'm taking something from what you just said.
Mhm,
My next question will be: as an adult with dyslexia,
mhm,
and I know that you're a serial entrepreneur and all that. In your day-to-day activities, what
mhm.
are some of the tools, softwares, apps that you use that helped you to do your work in the most effective way?
Okay, before I knew I had dyslexia, I kind of I didn't know what it was. So I remember this one incident in high school where we had to make a poetry book and I thoroughly enjoyed the course. I put a lot of work into it. It was creative and I knew like I wanted my book to be amazing. I wrote my poems and Rosa, when I tell you I read these poems like over 20 times before I printed it and I put it into the book and I get my grade, and, I get very high marks for creativity, but then I see the marks start to fall off because I'm looking through the book again and there's so many spelling and grammatical errors. And I'm like, how? I read this thing over 20 times. I don't understand how I have these many spelling and grammatical errors. So I started to develop my own kind of mechanisms. I had specifically in college, I had one of my really best friends. Her name is Jess. I would write my paper, especially if I had something for English. I would write my papers and I would send it to her so she can proofread it for me. Because I knew like when I read it myself, I don't get all the things. So I would send my papers to people, honestly. And I found all the tutors who were going to be willing to like proofread and give me second eyes on my work and I would send it to them so they can read it over for me. But then after finding that I had dyslexia, everything that I want to say and everything that I want to articulate, I'm very clear in what I want to communicate. It's just getting it down on paper. So when you ask me about what I use, which are some of the tools that I got from grad school, I have software on my computer. So my computer reads my documents actually to me. I have diction. Everyone, I think nowadays, every computer has it. And you just enable it on your computer where you speak and they'll write it for you. Um, Diction and my audio is something that I use every day in terms of work. And then I have my
Hello, everyone. We are on Dyslexia Global Conversation, and today we are hanging out with Ama Asamoah, who is someone who has experience with dyslexia and dyspraxia. And she has kind of taken us through her journey of knowing to be dyslexic as an adult and also being identified as someone with dyspraxia. And the conversation is going so well. And I just want to encourage you to send in your comments to us over here, and we will be able to answer them as we progress. This is Dyslexia Global Conversation, and I just want to wish everybody happy Dyslexia Awareness Month, October. That's, I think, apart from September, which is my birthday, October is one of the month that I really, really love because it gives us the opportunity to bring to you informations and conversations relating to dyslexia and related learning disabilities. And as I mentioned before, this month we have a lot of activities lined up at the Africa Dyslexia Organization. We're doing traditional media tours and we're also doing a lot of virtual meetings, this one is one of them, which is Dyslexia Global Conversation. Aside that, we are launching our first ever research on assessing the knowledge of teachers in Ghana when it comes to dyslexia and related learning disability. Hoping to publish this report, and based on that, we can make a lot of recommendations for Ghana Education Service and the Ministry of Education. But once that is done, we will be able to use the same method to roll out a research on dyslexia and related learning disabilities across Africa. And so this year and this month, we are very busy. Another exciting part, which I invite a lot of you, is the Dyslexia Advocates Fellowship. Please, we are launching it tomorrow. Its application is open tomorrow. So please, if you are really passionate about learning and getting trained on how to become an advocate in your community, we are looking for 2 people in each African country. So please make yourself available for us. And I'm bringing back to stage Ama to continue our conversations on what are the specific techniques, tools, or strategies she adopted to make her work effectively as the serial entrepreneur that she is. And so, welcome back to the stage, Ama. You can continue.
Hey, Rosen. I'm laughing because I was joking about your internet being stable on your end. And mine just dropped me offline. I'm like, of course, right in the middle of my speech.
Yeah,
But it wasn't even you, it was me
worry.
this time.
We are good, because of our locations and stuff. We have adapted the way we do this interview. When you go
Yeah.
off, I don't even say anything. I just jump in with another topic and you come back. Yeah, so you can go ahead.
But I left off in terms of the day-to-day tools that actually allow me to show up in my work. And I was saying I use Diction on my computer, which reads all my document back to me. It reads my writing back to me. And then I use Voice, where it allows me to just say what I need to say, and then it'll type it out for me on the computer. And then I actually have plugins. They're great softwares. If anyone has heard of Grammarly, Grammarly is a good starting place, but there's also another software that I use for my business writing, which is called WordTune, which does all the things that I used to use my friends for. And I can do it myself in real time with the tools from all these different platforms. So that's what I use in my day-to-day. And these are things that I use every day. On my phone, I use Diction. I use most of the software that I use on my computer, I also use on my phone. So my world has adapted to support my needs.
I love it. I love it. My world has adapted to support my needs. And you're right. I use, like, my computer is full of different softwares and stuff that I use, and it's the only way I can work. If not, I'm not effective.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to the writing. We can say exactly what we want to say, but when it comes to putting it on the paper, then it's very hard to find words to even describe what you want to, right? But if
Exactly.
you're an adult, it is okay for you to utilize softwares. That's why technology is evolving for you to utilize. So don't kill yourself if you're an adult and feel like you're dumb or stupid. You're not. Okay, just find the right ways to be able to learn. But if you have a child who is dyslexic,
Mhm.
remember that every child can learn in the most beautiful way ever. And so
Mhm.
early intervention is very important. And we say this to our parents all the time, because sometimes parents will come and ask me, oh, what are some of the softwares or apps that I can have my 11-year-old child who is dyslexic to use? No, Don't start introducing those things to
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
yet. Please
I
work
agree.
with the school to find them the right tools and stuff that they can use, and then they can benefit. I want to ask you, when you got assessed as dyslexic,
Mhm.
how did your family receive the news? And how did your friends, were you open about it?
Mhm.
If you were, how did your friends receive the news? And then also your workplace where you used to work. Has it come in need where you have to disclose that you have this, you are dyslexia or experiencing dyspraxia as well? How was it received?
Okay, I love that you asked the question of how it's received because I feel like I spent a lifetime knowing that I had disadvantages that I had to overcome, and I just found ways to overcome them myself. Were they the most efficient? No, but I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So when you talk about having friends read your documents, first of all, I need to ask my friend, right? I need to let go of the shame and the fear to be able to ask someone who's close to me, like, hey, I have this thing due. Can you please just proofread it for me for grammatical errors and everything? So I think along the way, I had adapted the ability to ask for help because I knew I needed it. So I don't think it's not that it was the shock. It's not that anyone was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know. It just, for like I said, my life just made so much more sense. It just gave me more confidence to articulate the things that I need. So when you talk about work, it's not something that I had to inform them that I had dyslexia. It's more so, hey, I have dyslexia, and if I want to do this, these are the things that I need in order to get my. So when I walked into a room, I walked into a room with so much more authority because I knew that I needed assistance. So if you want me to get the job that you're hiring me to do, get me A, B, C, and D. And everyone was so receptive to that. I started my career in London as well. So this is a place that already exists. Um, and has resources for people. So when I stepped into this place of authority and telling people this is what I need in order to achieve, the conversation was so much more receptive um, because I had verbiage. So yeah, it didn't really change much around me because I've done well in school. I didn't struggle in school. I just struggled internally. A lot of the work and a lot of my knowing was more so of an internal place that I had to overcome. And that is the biggest person who needed to be freed, the me inside.
Wow, wow. The me inside who needed to be free. And I tell you, I think a lot of dyslexic people feel the same way. How did you challenge yourself to really, are you even out of that mindset? Are you free now?
Oh, 100%. Thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. So when I started my journey, I started talking to viewers that had dyslexia, almost kind of similar to Global Conversations. I thought I was gonna publish the conversations that I was having with people, but I realized along the way it was actually research for myself. But I realized just from talking to different entrepreneurs, and I was very specific in terms of the kind of people that I want to have conversations with. I saw the difference with people that were diagnosed as a child versus people who were diagnosed as an adult, and just like the boldness and the tools that you have when you are diagnosed as a child is completely different when you find out later on in life. And undergoing removing the shame and stigma and just honestly freeing yourself and knowing it's not me. Like, I always thought it was me. I always thought that, I just had to work extra hard or I had to overcompensate. And I tried my best on the paper and I still got to be. How? Because all my marks were deducted because of grammar. That person and those experiences that you have faced time and time again, that is what I had to take time to overcome. Um, and so much freeing being on the other side. I couldn't be where I am today without that I have, honestly. And I always joke and tell people if I knew I was dyslexic when I was a child, I'll probably be a lawyer, honestly. as you know, being a lawyer is all reading and writing, and that's what I avoided. So I knew I couldn't. But had I known I was dyslexic from early childhood, it probably would have emboldened me to take that career path and not feel as though it's something that was unattainable for me at the time.
Hmm. Hmm. I do because I always say that as well. Like, had my parents even known that I'm this, like my challenge is as a result of dyslexia, and this is what dyslexia is about, then maybe I would have experienced life differently. But
Mm,
then also, Amma, there's one thing that I believe in is it's okay the way things are. And that's why maybe if we had known earlier, we wouldn't even be here sitting here talking about dyslexia here right now,
100%.
trying to raise
Yeah.
awareness to support somebody. You'll be busy with your law career that I will not even have come across with you. However,
It is very
however,
true. Very true.
however, we have now the opportunity to change one girl or two or one boy or two's lives with our
Yeah.
story. I feel that's the
100%.
purpose of what we are here in this world, aside all the busyness of things we do, is to
Yeah.
give voice to a child who is voiceless in the classroom and to give hope to a parent who is sitting down and thinking, oh my goodness, my child, what can I do with this child?
Mhm.
Is that you're listening to Amma today and seeing hope and seeing that it is possible and seeing that
Yeah.
you cannot write off a child. And that's why we are here today. So you grew up in both the US and then you went to England for studies. And so I'm
Mhm.
sure you really didn't encounter the African way, like when you go to school and all that. But I
Mhm.
want to find out from you, studying in the US, was it at a was there at a point in your life that you felt like, oh my goodness, I don't like school. I don't feel like I belong because of these challenges with dyslexia, even though you didn't know then?
Mhm. I never had that experience. I always enjoyed learning. That's why everyone spectrum, as I'm sure you've educated your audience, it is a spectrum and in terms of where you fall. I enjoyed learning, but I developed so many like mechanisms to get me through the school system, and I did well in school. And when I was graduating, going to top 10% of my class, I did very well in that. That's why when I'm telling you, um, my professor Bethany is sitting in front of me and telling me I have dyslexia at 24. And I'm like, how dare you? Because I was a student who always excelled, but I gravitated more towards science because science was a formula. And I knew like there was something about English that I couldn't put my finger on in terms of why I didn't like it. Math, just not really a numbers person. I do business math, but science is more so of a formula. And even when it comes down to writing, I didn't have a problem writing. I didn't have a problem in terms of like reading a lot of material is overwhelming for me, but I retain information well. So I went to class and I took notes because I can read my own notes. Right. So I was very studious. I was very attentive. And when we talk about science writing, I tell people I'm a bullet point writer. Right. So in science, you can write bullet points and you're good to go. So I just attracted and went the direction that I was just excelling in. Because why spend time in an area that is not my strong suit, but I knew there was areas in education that I did better in, and those are the pockets that I tend to gravitate towards. So for me as a student, I do remember like my parents giving me like a reading tutor. There were some concerns. This is probably like when I'm in second grade because I went to a private school at first. This is probably like in second grade. I had a tutor, and I remember I just used to be bored during the tutoring sessions because like I don't want to read. I'd rather be doing something else. It's not that I didn't want to learn. I just don't want to read all of this material. That's just not what I'm interested in. So as a child, I just gravitated, and as a student, I gravitated to my strengths, and I just kind of let my weaknesses fall by the wayside.
Wow, wow, wow. I love that. So, parents, if you are listening, you might be familiar that, oh, usually dyslexic people can't read or can't write and all that. And like Amma said, it's a spectrum. So depending on where you are, her case, she was able to learn. She loved the school, but just that when it comes to this subject called English, she didn't understand why when it comes to putting words on paper she was struggling. And so
Mhm.
your child could be in a similar situation and you're wondering, why do you like this? Why do you like this subject? But then when it comes to English, you're not good at it. We all know that English is one, even in mathematics, I feel like we still use English, right? To,
Yes.
to, to, to do everything. And
Mhm.
so when you are limited in that way, then definitely you know that you'll be limited in so many ways as well. So I want our parents to understand your level of spectrum and what we are talking about here right now. Thank you, Amma, for that conversation is going well. I just want to encourage all our audience, please, if you have questions, comments, please send it in and we'll be able to ask Amma here. We have Millicent watching us from Kenya. We have Diana from Ghana watching from Queens International School, Samuel Alabi. Quite a number of people are watching us. Angelos, I don't know how to pronounce this. Peace. There's some names that I can't even pronounce, and that's my dyslexic coming in.
Mhm.
Thank you all for sending in your hello or shout out message. Just send us questions if you have questions so that we can continue asking Amma here. Amma, back to you.
Mhm.
I would like to find, in your opinion, if there are people you meet that have some misconception or misunderstanding about dyslexia that we need to address to create more awareness.
Um, 100. I know you face this as well. When we talk about misconceptions, every time people dyslexia, especially how it's portrayed in the media, seen as the butt of the joke or almost used as like an escape route. Um, and which is absolutely not the case. When I talk about an escape route, it's normally when you hear conversations like, "Oh, well, why did you do this?" or "Why couldn't you get this done in time?" It's like, "Oh, I'm dyslexic," right? It's almost like an excuse that people use. Or when you hear dyslexia, people feel as though either A, it's an art of laziness, or it's you just see words backwards, you see numbers backwards. And that is not just what dyslexia is. As we discussed, dyslexia is a spectrum. It is just a reading and writing comprehension where you need other tools in order to comprehend the information. It is not that you cannot comprehend what is being said. It is just that reading and writing it is just difficult and you need more support in that area. So in terms of dyslexia, I would love to be in a place of society where dyslexia is not just always used as a joke or dyslexia is not used as a scapegoat. Because I think it's undoing the work when we have months like this where we have topics centered around dyslexia and trying to educate people that dyslexia does not keep you from whatever that you want to do, right? Dyslexia is not that you are less than. Dyslexia does not mean that you cannot comprehend. It is purely about how you read and how you write. The end.
I love it. It is purely about how you read and how you learn. And so this brings me to my next question with you, Amma, is how has dyslexia impacted your entrepreneurial journey and the way you approach your businesses? Has it contributed in any way?
100%. I think being dyslexic for me, I realized my brain is able to see the end before the beginning. So what I mean by that is I see all the details that need to exist with anything. That's why I'm in operations. I'm a chief operating officer. Everything I do is centered around operations. Everything I do is around standard operating procedures. So the way my brain thinks, when you give me something, I have already seen all the details that need to go in between. Now, I can tell you exactly what you need to do in order to get there. I can't necessarily write it for you. That's what my team does. So I am paid. I tell people I am paid to think. That is my best asset. I am paid to think, and I am paid to come up with the solutions to problems and challenges that are at hand. That is my primary role. And when we talk about shifting perspective, I created shifting perspective out of a place of my own experience, where I knew that people needed help in their entrepreneur journey. People also needed space just to help put a linear plan together. And I knew for me, when we talk about shifting perspectives, life is all about the advantage point that you see it from. When we started the conversation, I told you that I always knew that I was an intelligent child. I was very intellectual. But I knew like I had a disadvantage somewhere. Had I taken the approach that I'm not good at it, so I can't do it, I don't think I would have gone as far as I did in my educational journey. So I knew life is all about the lens that you see it from. And that is exactly why my company is called Shifting Perspectives, because if we can slightly just shift our lens, if we can slightly just shift our mindset, if we can slightly just shift our gaze of how we think about things, it sets us up for a different kind of level of success. So life or it's just about incrementally shifting our perspectives in order to succeed. So building a company for me, I set myself up for success, right? I want to make sure that I am cultivating an environment for people to show up to succeed. I am cultivating an environment for people to thrive and work through their strengths rather than through their weaknesses. I don't believe in spending time in things that we're not good at, because that's what you hire for. You hire for your weaknesses and you double down on your strengths. So when I tell you I honestly get paid to think, that is what I do. I get paid to think, and then I have the opportunity and the privilege to help other people think through some of their challenges, and then I have a team who actually puts it down on paper.
I love it. No, I love it. And when you were talking, I'm like, huh, is she describing me? But
Yeah.
a lot, a lot of dyslexic people are like that. And example is Sir Richard Branson. He has like how many companies? So many of them. And you could see that this clearly a man who is an ideable, like he thinks about ideas, and he's like, today we're going to space. Okay, the people who would want to bring it into reality, get your hands on deck and let's start
Mhm.
working.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Ama is doing. She's paid to think. So, parents and teachers, if you're listening, please know that some of us, we are paid to think. Okay? To think. And that's very critical for every future, for the future of every successful organization is to have
Mhm.
critical, analytical thinkers. And I know that a
Absolutely.
lot of dyslexics have this as their core strength, and so it's a very good thing. When it comes to reading and writing, please, the people who write the books, the people who write the proposals, we will get them and pay them
Mm.
to do it. But then if the idea doesn't come, what are you going to write?
There's nothing to
The
write. Yeah.
exactly. So my next question, let's see some comments here. We have Madame Blessing from Dyslexia Help Africa watching us, and he says, getting paid to think. Well done, Ama. Wow. um, Dinwa says, impactful conversation. I'm learning a lot about the topic. Thank you, Ama. Marriage and family clinic. Oh, okay. Okay. AJ Kwatin from Edu Fem says, hi, greetings from Accra. So we have quite a number of people watching your conversation. And trust me, this conversation, I love it because we talking, blending both dyslexia in school and dyslexia in the workplace.
Yeah,
discussion. And I love it
absolutely.
that you're here sharing all that. And so this brings me to my next question to you is how do you integrate inclusivity and diversity in your workplaces and how can companies also do same?
Okay, before leaving the corporate world, I'll start with what companies can do. Before leaving the corporate space, I have been privileged to work with companies that could show up for my needs when I told them what they were. Because, like I told you, I walk into a room very clear. I'm like, this job I need, right? And I had companies that would support me in that aspect. I remember one company. Um, I don't know if they never had a dyslexic employee or never had an employee that outwardly said it, but we couldn't download like other programs on the work computer. That wasn't allowed. But because we had this conversation, the IT department downloaded everything that I needed on my computer in order to do my job. And it's just the little things like that. And some yeah, it wasn't like extra software I was asking to pay for. One of the softwares the company actually paid for it while I was an employee there, so I could get the unlimited, the premium grade. And it's just those little things. Something as simple as I have this laptop and for work purposes, I can't do all these things. And them allowing me to do those things is just one ways that corporations can start to think about how do we inclusively support people, especially when they bring us their needs. Because it's one thing to say that we're an organization that supports everyone, but once someone brings their needs to you, how can you adopt? How can you ensure that they feel safe with the concerns that they are bringing to you? In terms of my company, I hire people for their strengths. When we talk about your CV, I honestly don't care how you look on paper. Can you get the job done? That's all I care for. Can you get the job done? And that's what I'm gonna hire you for. I don't care what school you went to. I honestly don't care how many hours of this certificate that you have put in. Can you do the work that's in front of me? I am an employer that gives people the opportunity to show up and perform. If you want an opportunity, I am probably someone who's going to open the door and give you that opportunity. And once that opportunity is on your lap, it's up to you to show up. So for me, I knew starting out with my career, I just wanted someone to give me the opportunity to start, to show them what I had. I knew I had so much to give. I knew that I could be very useful in a team dynamic. I just needed an opportunity. And for me, I felt like I needed all the accolades in order to get that opportunity. But when I got it, I took it and I ran with it. So as an employer, I am there to give people opportunities. So when people come to me and they're inquiring about, "And let's talk, hey, are you serious? Are you going to follow up with me?" Right? As an employer, are you going to go out your way or follow your, do I have to chase you down? Because that's something that I'm not going to do. Right? When we have the conversation, how do you show up for that conversation? Do you have the hard skills along with the soft skills in order to get this done? That is what I look for, and that is what I create space for.
Wow, 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 wow. I love it. And I wish a lot of organization leaders are watching, are going to watch this conversation to hear what you're saying. There is a lot of awareness going on about dyslexics being some of the integral part of organizations' survival. I don't know what you think about it. Now we have even we are in the dictionary, which is dyslexic thinking as a skill for
Mhm,
dyslexic people, and why it is
mhm.
important for organizations to hire more of people who are dyslexic. What is your opinion on that?
Well, you have me. I think I am a great beta example of what having someone, most of the people are critical thinkers because they know there's a challenge here, so they'll find all the solutions around it, right? So for me, that's how my brain works. My brain works is if you come with me with a problem, I will give you a solution, right? The corporate space is full of problems that just need answers, right? The more people that you have on your team that are not just doers, but people who are actually solving the problems, that is how an organization grows. Because every day we can come in do every day we can come and do, unless we're actually solving the actual problems that we have, a company does not actually grow. And when you're talking about hiring someone onto your team who can give you this, someone who is dyslexic, they might not give you the 20-page report. Because honestly, the person who's writing the 20-page report, who's reading that, right? But the person who can give you everything that you need in a succinct presentation and to deliver it in a manner that is going to be memorable, to deliver it in a manner that is going to be implemented in the company, that is more advantageous than someone who is in the corner writing the 20-page paper. Both are equally important and both need to exist. But sometimes I think we task where dyslexic people might feel as though they don't have that many opportunities. They're tasked to do the thinking, but along with the thinking, you want that same person to write the 20-page paper, whereas it has to be a team dynamic. So creating spaces and organizations where this team dynamic can exist. You have a thinker, you have a doer, you have a writer. All of these, once all of these are in one space, you can keep the wheel moving.
I love it. I so love that you touched on it passionately. And you're right. You're right. Why let somebody write a 20-page report when they are very limited on that? And I remember, same as me, when I started my work with Disney, I let them know that I'm dyslexic. I'm not the person to call for to write minutes or to write reports. However, here are my strengths. What do you
Mhm.
need me to do? And when those were outlined, I felt like I gave my best ever. Because they understood and they were willing to give me that room to operate within my capacity, and I did very well with that. And so in schools as well, it was maybe a teacher is learning it or listening to us and be asking, okay, if I have a student in my class who is dyslexic, what do I do to support? Are there any accommodations I can think about? What are some of the supports you would share that you think schools should make available for our dyslexic learners?
So I do want to talk specifically to educators. Um, we'll get to the tools later, but it was an educator that changed my life, that simply took this and brought me that conversation. Before her, my educational system had failed me. I went through all my fundamental educational years not knowing that I was dyslexic. I had come and gone across so many educators, and no one said anything. And I remember taking a test. This is in college. I remember taking a test. Beforehand, there was going to be a writing portion, and I knew I struggled in writing. Rose, I tell you, it was my goal to make sure that I had every multiple choice answer on that question correct. So I didn't have to answer the assessment. And I knew the best that I would get was an 89 because the writing portion was 11 points. And I knew I wasn't going to spend my energy on it. So I knew that I had to get every question right in order to get the highest grade that I knew that I could achieve was an 89. And I did exactly that. And I know there's been educators have probably come across my writing in the past and no one had ever said anything. So as an educator being on the front lines, if you notice something, say something. Don't be fearful to speak out for your students because you are their biggest advocates. Even if a parent cannot receive the information that you are giving them as an educator, it is your job to say something because you work with them directly in the school system. So please help hear me. The biggest tool that you have as an educator is to be your student's advocate, um, and be their biggest advocate because sometimes it doesn't happen in the home. Sometimes parents are not aware of what to look for, but educators are built to notice when this is how somebody should be developing, but they're not developing. So what else could it be, right? Be an advocate for your students because that's what changed lives. What was your next question?
I feel like you answered the question already, and just like I feel like this is like almost the end of the conversation where you drop the mic. Be the advocate for your students. There was a teacher who also changed my life for so long. Everybody said she's not good, and one time there was this proprietress of the culinary school I went who told my father that I think Rosalind is good. She's doing well. She'll be very good in life. And for me, for the first time in my life, that
Mhm.
was the very first time someone was saying something positive
Yeah.
about me.
Yeah.
It was always about, oh, she's lazy, she's dumb, she's troublesome. That was how I was labeled for like from when I could remember till
Yeah.
about 18. That was how I was labeled. And so there is that powerful, like the teachers have a way either making or unmaking a child. So if you're an
Exactly.
educator, what path do you choose? Do you want to unmake or make? And that's
Um,
why Mhm, go ahead, Amma.
no, I was gonna say, I love that you brought that specifically for educators. Verbiage matters so much. Like children, every children has the capacity to do something. What they have the capacity to do, that is up for us to create an environment to discover where their strengths lie. But verbiage, what you say to people in the classroom matters so much. And it matters in order to shape their trajectory, to shape their confidence. So that's also another plea with educators. Be their advocate, but make sure the words that you use are always inspiring. Yes, there might be a troublesome child. We know there's so many reasons why a child can be troublesome. It's not just because of their learning disadvantages, but even with a troublesome child, you as an educator are their first gateway to what the rest of their life looks like. When they show up in a classroom and even being encouraged through their difficultness, that alone can change a child's life.
Absolutely, absolutely. That alone. And I always say that to our educators, in the moment when you do not know what to do to this child, show them love.
Yes.
Love
Yes.
is the most easiest but the most powerful thing that can
Mhm.
change anybody's life.
I agree.
I'm
I
with
agree.
you. I know your struggle. We're going to work it through. You're an awesome kid. That changes life a lot. And so, Amma, I would ask you who was the most greatest source of inspiration throughout your life? It may be your mother, it may be your father, it may be a friend, it may be an acquaintance. Who was your greatest source of inspiration?
That is a good question. Let me think. I think the easiest routes would be like to say your parents because you see them. But as I've gotten older, and now that I stepped into my entrepreneur shoes, I would say it's my sister. My sister has been a serial entrepreneur before I even knew what the word was. For me, I was bred in a system where I was going to go climb the corporate ladder. That's the only thing I knew. Go to school, get a job. If you're not going to go be the doctor, you get the job and you keep climbing the corporate ladder. That is a system that I was bred into. And my sister had a very different approach on life where she started her entrepreneurial journey very early on, and is now as an adult that I am appreciating all the challenges that she's gone through. And one thing that I appreciate about my sister the most is she has never waited for anyone to tell her idea is good enough. She has never waited for anyone to invest in her. She would always invest in herself. She would always invest in her ideas. If she had something in her head, she was going to put the tools and resource to it to make it be tangible, right? And I think that trait in itself, now that I understand on the end as an adult, that is one thing that helps me. It's like I don't have to wait on anyone to co-sign that my idea is good, right? I can use my little capital. Sometimes it's not always about money, right? Sometimes it's actually just doing the thing, giving the proof to concept. And I've seen my sister do that time and time again. And I've seen her fail forward. She is someone who's not afraid to fail. And if you haven't failed before, failure will keep you in such a limited box that you cannot progress. But once you failed once, you're like, oh, okay, I just learned from it, right? I think everyone should lean into failure because the failure kind of releases you to life to be more free. And I seen her fail 10 times over and get up stronger so much every single time. So I will say, growing up, I didn't recognize it, but as an adult, I definitely say I've seen her through all the struggles and challenges, and I see how her business is growing. I see the impact in the communities that she gets to be in today, and that's due to the work of her just believing in herself.
Wow, 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 wow. Never giving up is the spirit we all need, especially dyslexics. We need that spirit of never giving up, because it can be tough out there when it comes to the school system and even at home, when parents
Yeah.
don't understand, when educators don't understand. That journey can be very lonely, and that's why there are research that says that, especially in the US, a lot of people in prison are people who struggled with some way or form of learning disability, and they just fell out, went out, never came back home, and joined a bad group, and that's where they ended up there, and which is very sad. And that's what we
Yeah.
want to stop in Africa. Even those that know better than us, like in terms of dyslexia awareness, still are not getting it. But we want to see if in the next 10 years, 20 years, we'll be able to change the narratives of not calling any child uneducable or blockheaded or something in school, but rather empowering our own, so that
Yeah.
tomorrow, if we are listening or we are mentioning people who are doing greater things on the continent of Africa, we will see a lot of Africans. We will see people
Yeah.
like Ama, people like me, people like your son, people like your daughter. Ama, Dr. Seti says, congratulations to you, Ama, for your remarkable journey. Dr. Seti is Africa Dyslexia Director for Training and Skills Development. She lives in San Francisco. She say
Oh,
hello to
thank you so
you.
much. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we have a
Rosen, before
common.
we go, oh, go before we
Okay.
go, I talk to educators. I do want to talk to parents as well,
Yes, that's
because
my
I
next
think you
question.
asked. Yeah, I
That's
asked
actually
me
my
just in
next
terms of.
question. Yeah, we will come there.
Okay,
I'm just reading questions and comments, and then I'll come to you again. We will wrap up soon, but I'll come back to you now. So Ida says educators really have huge impact on our learners. Thumbs up. Ama, you there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Awesome. Yes, I can see you.
Okay.
So, Amma, we'll come to that question for parents, because parents, it is very, very important. So now take the opportunity and share to us some advices that you can leave with our parents. Our parents, they are my most concern, because some of them, even when they know their kids are dyslexic, like when you do assessment and it turn out that the child is dyslexic, then they don't want to accept. They sometimes don't even
Mm,
want to call. They don't even
mm,
reply to my messages. Some of them are,
mm.
they don't want to be associated. And so I want you to really speak to our parents, so that at least this conversation, if it changes one parent's mindset and one educator's mindset, that's the goal. We have achieved
Yeah,
100%. Please go ahead.
yeah. Okay, so for parents, dyslexia is not a death sentence. Dyslexia is not even anything to be ashamed of, honestly. Because you have people like myself, people like Rosen, and so many other people that you're going to meet through October that have the story of um, what being dyslexic looks like, what's embodied. So, dyslexia is not a death sentence. It's something that should be embraced. When I talk about, a lot of times, parents might not recognize um, the learning challenges, the specific learning challenges that's within their children. You might know that something is wrong, but you can't really pinpoint it. As a parent, your job is to be present. I know you have a million things to do, right? But as a child, as a parent, observe your child. That's it. I think just honestly observing your child, what do they truly gravitate towards? What do they struggle away like? What do they tell you that they don't like to do? What do you feel as though like you have to beat them over the head to do versus where they want to come to you to do things? These simple little things are the building tools in order to help with conversations in the classroom with teachers. Observe your child. As a child, I struggled, especially with spelling. I remember specifically with spelling. I struggled with spelling, and I would tell my mom used to do my homework with me. I'm like, oh, how do you spell shuffle? Rather than her was telling me how to spell shuffle, she would say, sound it out. Shh, shh, shh. And I'm like, and she like, go get a dictionary. And then my mom would make me look up every word that I know. And I, because I'm like, if I don't know how to spell the word, how am I supposed to look it up? But it's like, okay, the S, it starts with an A from there. I want to advise that I don't think that's the best course, but from that experience, it didn't help me spell better because I'm dyslexic, but my vocabulary is elevated through experience because I saw so many words. I saw that there was many different ways of how to say something. That experience helped me to almost like the source. I'm almost a book of a source because as a child I was in the dictionary a lot, but that my mom's source was not to just to do the work for me. My mom's source was not to shame me. The only thing that she did know was just like, hey, go try to figure out for yourself, which in that moment I didn't feel like it was helpful, but it instilled words inside of me that now it helps me articulate myself so much better. So there are different tools and resources that as a parent, don't shame your child with, but almost use as a tool to help them along the way. But you have to observe. Everything is going to start with the observation. And once you have that observation, please be open to the conversations the educators are having with you. Just like I pleaded with the educators to advocate for those students, please hear it when an educator tells you, hey, I think your child might have a problem with reading or writing. They're not trying to be mean. They're not trying to say your child is dumb. What they're trying to do is partner with you. Please allow the school system, please allow educators to partner with you to give your child the resources to succeed in life. Early detection with dyslexia completely sets people up on a complete different journey, and it starts in the home. So please partner with educators to do the work. You don't have to do it by yourself. Just because you ignore it doesn't mean that your child is going to suffer any less. The more that you ignore it, the more that your child suffers. So please partner with these communities that are there to help you. Africa Dyslexia, being able to actually give a child an assessment is half of the battle. It is so expensive. I was privileged to be able to get my assessment because it was part of my university fees. That was also part of why I went to get the assessment. I'm like, it's free, like it's part of the resources. Why wouldn't I get it? So if you have opportunities to get an assessment, please do. There are people that are trained in this area to provide you with information. Information is the most powerful thing in this world. And once you have it, you cannot unlearn it. So educating yourself in this space, please, parents, allow yourselves to partner with organizations that just want to help you, because the more they help you, the more they're helping your child.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. It's the message is clear, parents. The message is clear, educators. The ball is in your court. We
Mhm.
are ready to work with you. Ama is also dyslexia ambassador for the Kenyan Dyslexia Organization, and you see how passionately she speaks. I think it runs true. Once you are dyslexic, you know the struggle that is out there, and you just want to
Mhm.
avail yourself so that's what you experience. Another child or somebody out there does not experience it. And so, Amma, how do you think, in brief, we are about wrapping up? It's 1 hour came by so fast. I don't know how
I
it
know.
happened. But we're about wrapping up, and I want to find out from you, how can people, whether they are dyslexia or not, get involved and make difference in promoting dyslexia awareness?
One thing, starting with conversations like this, whether you yourself are dyslexic, whether you have been around someone, if you notice something in someone, being part of conversations, so you can have awareness of what dyslexia is. Just because you have it doesn't mean you're aware of it. Just like myself, there's something off, but you know what it is. So it starts with education. So you're clear, being clear on what the spectrum of what dyslexia looks like, because some people struggle on a much harder end. And I know, Rosen, that's your story, in terms of really, really struggling with education. And somebody just telling you you're doing a good job is something that changed your life. Whereas um, someone like myself who has done well in school, but has always struggled with reading and writing, whereas if I was probably more empowered earlier on, I would have a completely different career trajectory, right? Maybe I would have been president one day because I would have been set up for that because I would have been empowered and emboldened, right? So um, educate, educate yourself, be aware of what dyslexia is, be inclusive. If somebody, one thing I will say, if you're at a meeting, if you're at an event, if it's something where someone has to read, please do not pick out people to read. If I have not volunteered, do not call my name to read because I will embarrass you and tell you I'm not reading. So please, especially I think that's also important. When there are events held, please let people volunteer to read. Ask people if they're comfortable in reading. Being in a space where maybe, there's speakerships, maybe there's prompts, please ask people the best mode of communication for them. But also do not volunteer people.
Do not think you know better than anyone. Ask them. Don't just point hands and say, especially in the midst of people, and like, Ama, can you read this for us? Ama, can you
I
say this
cannot.
for us?
I
No,
cannot. No,
yeah,
I cannot.
I have to be willing and volunteering myself and be like, oh, I would like to do this.
Exactly.
But in that
Yeah.
moment of it, you like come and read a passage. Oh no. You might think I'm mean or Amma
No.
is mean. It doesn't mean so
Mm-mm.
at all. Amma Arita Ade says, Amma, I'm listening to you with pride. She says she's from
Oh,
Kumasi,
thank you so
Ghana.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you
it's
so
it's
much.
a great conversation. Our audience, please, if you have a question for Amma or myself, please post it here before we wrap up in the next 5 minutes. But I want to remind you, this is Dyslexia Global Conversation, our first event for the Dyslexia Awareness Month. We have series of events that is happening this October, and if you look on your screen, I'm sharing some link here. This is our research link where we are assessing the knowledge base of teachers in Ghana about dyslexia and related learning disability. Please save this link and send in your survey. Also, another link I'm going to share with you is our Dyslexia Advocates program. We're looking for 4 people, 2 people in each African country to be in our first cohort of this Advocates Fellowship. And so please share this link to some really great, passionate people who want to create change on the continent of Africa. We're going to train you on how you can raise awareness in your country. And so we're looking for you. Please come. And also, if you want to get in touch with Amma, if you're a parent and you like to know more, if you are an educator and you've heard Ama's story and you want your teachers and your students to hear her story, please follow her on LinkedIn and connect with Ama as well. And you can see that also on the screen over there. Please connect with her because we are all in this together. Amma, what are some of your superpowers? I've met a lot of dyslexics who say they have superpowers. I already know one though. I think I know a couple. You're a serial entrepreneur, you are a critical thinker, you give ideas and solutions, but I know you still have some that we don't know. So, what are some of your natural superpowers as a dyslexic?
Um, Some of my superpowers. So you mentioned the critical thinking piece. I call it strategical thinking. So being able to see in between the gaps is what I call it. I think Um, the more I'm around people, I'm like, oh, this is a unique skill set. Being able to see in between the gaps. Um, Another one of my superpowers, I think, is facilitating a place of joy for people. For me, there are so many things, so many challenges that we're going to face in life, but creating pockets where you exist in your joy, exist in your play. I think I have an art for carving that out. And it's partnered with hula hooping. Hula hooping is also my superpower because it is a place of fun. It is a place of freedom. It is a space that I invite everyone into. Um, what else is a superpower? So I have joy. I have hula hooping. Um, I think I'm also very fit. I can actually lift weights that are I can lift my body weight, which is I'm impressed with myself. Because when you see me, I'm more small in stature, but I can lift my body weight, and that is something I am very proud of.
I love that. I love that. And how do you call the other one? Is it the hula something?
Hula hoop.
Hula hoop. I went to
Yeah,
your
the hula hoop.
Instagram page. I followed you on your Instagram page, and I saw, and I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, I've known Ama for at least a while now. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know she does these things. That's
Yeah.
quite impressive. My mind was like, oh my goodness, you have
Don't worry,
something.
we'll hula hoop together when I get to Ghana. I will
I
invite
hope
you
they can hula
to a
hoop.
workshop.
Yeah. But that was really nice to see. I was like, wow. Anyway, we have Arthur watching from Takra. They says, great to see you, Rosa. And someone says, it's been wonderful listening to you. A great job. And I think your story touches many people who are watching. What I would encourage you, our listeners, is please take this link, share with your friends, even after the live. That's the purpose of why we go live stream, is to keep this live forever on the internet. Share with your friends so that they watch. Trust me, one message from here will change somebody's life. So don't keep this link to yourself. Watch it, rewatch it, share it for us so that we can all create more awareness. As we are wrapping up, I'm reminding you October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. If you have a school that you want us, especially if you're in Accra and you want us to come there and raise awareness, please reach out to the Africa Dyslexia Organization. If you have a church that you want us to come there, we would love to come and talk about dyslexia in your church. If you want to join like virtual, even better. We can put Amma, like we can call Amma, right, to join because she's in the US and she can join and share her message as well. So please reach out to us. Don't let this pass by without we hearing from you. Amma, your last words. Please address people who are experiencing dyslexia, dyspraxia, or any form of learning differences who do not believe in themselves and think like,
Mm.
yes, what the world is saying is what they are. Please address them and then leave your last words for everybody.
Um, Before I get to that, what I would like to say is thank you, Rosalind. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for championing and thank you for using your disadvantages in life to hold a platform for the continent. Not just are you changing the space and the conversations in Ghana, but you're doing the work in Africa, right? To make the accessibilities that are around the world when we talk a place like England, right? Kind of bringing those resources to the continent. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for your passion. I'm so grateful that your experiences in life didn't just end there, right? But rather you have propelled it to create a stage and a platform for people to show up and know that there's a safe space, to know that there's more, to know to have a representation of people that look like them, people who they can see themselves through. Which leads me to the question that you asked me. Um, People with dyslexia, people that have been diagnosed, people that have been challenged with reading or writing, people that have been told that they're not smart enough, people that have been told they're not good enough. people that they've been told that they're not going to amount to anything. What I will tell you is that's not true. You have the ability to change your life. You have the ability to change your narrative. You have the ability to shift your own perspective. Sometimes when you don't have all the tools and the resources at your disposal, it might feel difficult. It might feel as you can't see yourself out of the box. That's why you ask for help. You have to partner with organizations. You have to look for the resources of places that are going to lift you up rather than bring you down. Do not keep yourself in a space that is not going to encourage you. Only surround yourself in spaces that will encourage you. Only surround yourself in spaces that will give you more, that will give you tools. You can change your own reality, but you're the only one that can do it, right? No one is going to hand it to you. What they're going to hand you is an opportunity, just like I would do. If you work in my industry, I would give you an opportunity to show up. What someone's going to do is they're going to give you the opportunity to that they have for you. So receive it, be open, be inquisitive. We are lifelong learners. The people who have the greatest success are the people that know that education does not start and stop in a classroom. Life is our classroom. The world is our classroom. And every day that we show up, just be willing to learn and receive information. But you can change your narrative. You have examples, you have people that look like you. For me, being a dyslexia ambassador were so important to me because when I looked around, people didn't really look like me, right? And people that were actually occupying the spaces and making decisions in terms of the dyslexia space, people didn't look like me. People didn't sound like me. People didn't come from a background that I came from. And I felt like it's so important for me to position myself so people could see their self in me, right? I am no different. I am not any less gifted or talented. I am not any more special than the next person. It is just every opportunity, everything that I have decided to double down and invest in, I have. When I have been given a chance to prove myself, I went above and beyond. When I decided that I was going to step into a space where I was going to be the own captain of my life, I did the work. It didn't fall in my hands. I did the research. I went to the courses. I did all the things that I knew that I needed to empower myself in order to confidently show up in a space. You cannot be confident if you don't have information. You cannot have information if you're not receptive to receiving it. So that's why I'll say be receptive and be open.
Wow, be receptive and be open. Ama has said a lot when it comes to this. I know that it is hard. I know it's not easy, especially on this continent. They write you off, they damage your self-confidence and
Mhm.
everything. But how about you decide to prove everybody wrong?
Yeah.
How about you prove them wrong that your mentality or your opinion about me doesn't matter? But
Mhm.
my opinion and what God thinks about me is what matters. And then you work on
Yeah.
it. It's not, listen, that's why you have the Africa Dyslexia Organization and you have Dyslexia Kenya, Dyslexia Help Africa, Cadet Academy. You have all of these organizations working on the continent of Africa so that you don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
And so if you're watching us, don't feel like you are alone. We are in this together. I wish my time back then something like this was happening. But it's
Mhm.
okay. That's why we are starting now. And look
Yeah.
at Amma sharing her beautiful story to also inspire you as an educator to make right changes for your students and then a parent, how you can support your children at home. I just want to say a big thank you to you. Thank you for availing yourself. There are some dyslexic who will not come on platform to share. They don't even want people to know that they are dyslexic.
Mm.
So for you embracing your difference and using your voice to add to the work that we're doing, it means a lot to us. If I have to pay you, I know I cannot pay you. But I know that you receive your payment in many other ways from God that I believe in.
Mhm.
And so I just want to say thank you. We're going to do so many stuff together. And I hope when I call on you next time, you open your door to us and come
Of
and
course.
share. But I
Of
have enjoyed
course.
this conversation, and our audience, I say thank you so much for joining us. Please, please, please help us with our research and also help us to reach some change makers on the continent of Africa. We are looking for 2 people in each African country to join our fellowship program, and the training will start in February of 2024, but then application starts tomorrow and ends on 20th of November. We need your support. Share with us. And Ama, thank you so, so much once
Thank
again. So,
you. Thank you. I know the conversation was good because we went over time. Normally, I'm like, you said it was going to be this many seconds, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. When I get to Ghana for us to continue the work. But yes, continue. Going to be a great month. I know the events that you have coming up. I'm so excited for this fellowship when we talk about surrounding ourselves, with encouraging spaces. Now you're actually employing an immobile ambassadors in each country that can, be a support system for people if they need it. And it's going to be life changing. So I'm so excited to see that take off the ground. If you pay for my travel, hey, maybe I'll be one of your ambassadors. And let me figure out what
hey,
country I want to go to. Maybe
I
Tanzania.
know.
Maybe I'll sign up for Tanzania if you send me there.
I know. And we do a lot together. Don't go away. Let me close our audience, and then you and I can just wrap up. Okay. Okay, so thank you so much. It's been a great night of deep dive conversation. I enjoyed it. From the comments, I know some of our audience enjoyed it. I don't know about you. If you didn't enjoy it, then I have to figure out what kind of a human being are you. But please help us by taking the link that you're watching. Please share it, especially to schools, to your church leaders, to everybody. Share it so that they can learn. Go on our website, help us with our research, and also help us share our fellowship that we are accepting application from tomorrow. Once again, this is Dyslexia Global Conversation. If you're attached to support our work that we do, please also on our website, you can donate something to support. And you can also sponsor Dyslexia Global Conversation if you are led to. But thank you so much for staying with us this Sunday evening. Make a date with us on the 8th of October. We are having Dyslexia Global Conversation with how many people is a surprise. 3 dyslexic adults. They will be here on the 8th of October sharing their story. One is a teacher, one is a former worker at Tesla, the other one is a serious business strategist. They are all dyslexic. You can't wait to miss this conversation. Thank you and have a very good evening.